What's up, guys? I'm pretty damn excited about this episode of the Toyota Stout Project. We have an automotive artist in the name of Jon Sibal, and he has done work for TRD, Lexus, Toyota, plenty of other manufacturers and car builders as well. I think he has one of the best styles out there, keeping the integrity of the vehicle and the body lines that it has and just exaggerating them into having wide fender flares and making it more race car-esque, which is awesome. So I'm really pumped to have him on board the Toyota Stout Project. And he is SoCal based. So he came to Race Service to walk us through exactly what he does for modifying this truck. So from start to finish, you guys are gonna see exactly what he's done to modify the truck and how it's gonna look when we finish it.
Jon Sibal here. I'm an automotive artist based in Southern California. We work with TRD and other manufacturers and builders in creating a rendering of their visions. So some of the most recent projects we've worked with are the body kit design for the GR Corolla. We created the full wide body kit for Ryan Tuerck's drift car. Whenever we are involved in a project, especially with a manufacturer, it's one thing that we make sure to retain their original identity, brand identity. We don't want to design or redesign the vehicle to where you don't even recognize it anymore. Sure, we'll add updates to it, but we'll retain as much of the original styling cues into our design, so it still feels very familiar. And one thing that we also considered is this design something that they can be built in real life, which then creates a signature style of my own that most of our designs are somewhat feasible, whether that's just tire clearances, ground clearances, even bumper clearances behind the structures of the car and how everything is mounted. We have to consider all those, so it reduces some headaches when it comes to the engineering part of executing the body kit. So once we have enough information that we need, we start the designing process. It's all done digitally. We don't really do sketches or anything like that. We just jump into the 3D software. Software choice right now is Blender, where we have basically the scan data of the car, and from there we design and develop the body kit on top of that. And Blender allows us to create a design seamlessly so that we can upload it on a rendering software called Keyshot, so that we can then present that to the client so that they can visualize how the car looks with a full environment, full lighting in a more realistic point of view. So as soon as we have the body scan data of the vehicle, we then recreate a low poly version of that file. So it's something that we can upload in Blender and create and design the body kit panels much simpler and easier on a low poly version versus the scan data. So jumping into the project, when we discussed the build with Ryan, one thing that stood out was that his vision was to maybe build something that he can do some drift demos and just toss it around, and more on the motorsport side of things, to where we're not doing an off-road build, although it is a truck. So that helped me to kind of get a better idea of how to approach the design of this. We studied how the car looks, how the vehicle looks from the stock form, picking out details like the fenders, that little indentation on the edge of the wheel well, as well as the bumper area, the headlight area, and even the hood. Those are a very distinct style of the Stout, and we want to retain as much of those as possible. So the first order of business for this project would be coming up with a full body kit. Now there's so many ways to approach designing a wide body kit for this. We can do a standard fender flares or a box flare, and I feel like a box flare design has a more fitting lines that suits the Stout. So the kit, or at least the wide body panels that we designed, is something like this. So you can see the front fender's a box flare style. Again, going into the details of the panels where we're able to retain some of those original styling cues from the original fenders. So when we turn it off, you can see that feature on the wheel well area, and that we're able to apply that into the wider fenders. And again, we didn't touch the fascia at all. I just added a front lip underneath the front bumper. Same thing for the rear. Again, applying some of those design cues from the original body and then putting it on the wide body quarter panel addition. So when you see it from top view, you can see how much wider it is from stock. One of the things that we've added to this design is adding the fender trims, which are these little slats inside the fenders. And basically that just adds some details to the opening. It's very period correct. At the same time, it adds some nice details on the opening instead of just an open mesh. And then on top of that, we also designed a diffuser for the back. And the diffuser looks like this. And that just completes more of like the side profile of the car, where you look at it, it doesn't look too front heavy, and it just balances out the whole vehicle. We also designed a hood. Now the factory hood is very simple and flat looking, so we wanted to retain some of that. So the vents that we added on the hood looks like that. And that is, again, whenever we design something, we want to make sure that first, again, to retain the original design, but second, is this something that can easily be manufactured and done on a factory hood. But we also want to make sure that we ask Ryan, are you running full air suspension? It is going to be static? And those are the stuff that we consider, so that when we mock up the wheels, then we know exactly how to place the wheels and get a better idea of how the full build would look like, with a complete setup. We also designed a front lip as another piece of the aero kit to complete the whole look. So when you look at it from the side profile, your eyes are all level from front to back. And a quick mock-up of the cage. Of course, this is not going to be what's going to be in the truck, but it's something, again, that we just add just so that to complete the whole look, get a better general idea of how it looks with the full cage. So once we're comfortable with the design of the body kit for the Stout, what we need to do now is to create some Jpeg renderings to present to Ryan, so that he can now visualize how the whole car looks in a more realistic, photorealistic environment settings. And that's when we jump into a different software. Now this software is Keyshot. We upload all the designs that we generated from Blender, and we add the wheels, add the color and texture on the front lip that is carbon fiber texture. The glass textures are now, they look like glass, so everything seems exactly how it would be in real life. And again, this is just a mock-up of the wheels. We just want a sample wheels to go along with the kit, so that Ryan can now see how the whole project would look in a more realistic, photorealistic setting. And this gives him an idea of like the proportion again and the overall design of the kit. It's always better to show, if you feel like the client, to see it in this form, because this is exactly, sometimes what they're envisioning and how they imagine their build. It's different from, what the Blender that we have image looks, but from this image, I think it's easier to see the stance of the car and even the color configurations that we can also, play around with this vehicle. So from this stage of the build, this is something now that we can present to Ryan to review. And once he confirms everything's good to go, we also bring in the manufacturer of the body kit, the engineering team, the people who would be designing the chassis, so that now they have an idea of exactly how the car would look, and that should also help them in terms of how to design the chassis based on the overall look of the vehicle. And we also then presented to TRD, since they are heavily involved in this project. After that, that's basically where the whole entire build process becomes. So from this stage, this is just the initial stage of the whole build, just to get everybody on board, help everybody visualize what the whole build should look like. It is a crucial part of the build because that's when everybody now gets to do their part of the build, whether it's the chassis building, the manufacturing of the kit, and it helps everybody have one singular vision of how the car should look like at the end of the process.